Hey, Chris Parry here from EQUITY.GURU. Today's 3-minute hit is Medexus Pharmaceuticals, MDP. Why am I doing MDP right now? Well, we've been alluding to projected revenues, which were going to come out any day. They came out yesterday. That we're going to show that MDP was going to have its biggest quarter revenue-wise to date. And indeed, it did. Came out exactly on line with projections, $27 million US in the quarter, which makes it around $108 million US projected out over an annual term. Now, the market cap on this thing, US dollars, is about 28 million. So you're looking at essentially 1/4 of the annual revenues is the market cap. And that's craziness. That's craziness. Now, admittedly, there was a $2.8 million loss incurred on that quarter, net income wise, because of unrealized gains on debentures, etc. But if you're looking at what it costs as opposed to what's coming in, there's actually a really good growth chart there. 55% up year over year, 20% up quarter over quarter. That's a success story in most places. Now, there is a debenture out there that Medexus is going to have to pay at some point. And you don't like to see a loss at the best of times, especially when the economy is down. But will this loss carry out quarter over quarter? Not exactly. And to be honest, Medexus has a little cash in hand. They're not running out of money. And they have this treosulfan drug that's in front of the FDA that at any point could be approved for sale in the US, which gives them a nice big jump on the revenue side almost straight away. So what's with Medexus? Why did it go down? Well, at the beginning of October, this thing was a 90-cent stock. It ran up to $2.40 in the lead up to those financials. Now, it's really a case of buy on rumor, sell on news. People knew this was going to be a good quarter. They bought into it appropriately, and then they took their profits. I can't disrespect that. That's what you're supposed to do. If you don't want to be there forever, take your profits, go away, come back later when it's down, maybe buy more shares than you started out with. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So, the stock was at $1.80 the day before the financials came out. It went up to $2.40 day of financials, and then the sell-off back down to $1.80. So for me, you're looking at essentially a flat line with a little bit of a bug in the middle where some people got to trade and make some money. But at $1.80, this is a $35 million company, Canadian, 28 million or so US, which is a quarter of revenues annually. That is dirt cheap. Now, I don't understand if this thing was losing $8 million a quarter or $12 million a quarter, but no, it's got a little loss that's coverable by the money they have in hand, and an upward trajectory on their revenues, which should cover that loss in future quarterlies. So I think it's actually a really good deal. If treosulfan gets approved, when it gets approved, boom, away we go. But right now, it's an up and down stock. It's a higgledy-jiggledy thing where people are making money on the trade, and a base of investors is sitting there at $1.80. So anything below $1.80, I'm buying. Anything above $1.80, maybe I'm selling, maybe I'm trading. But honestly, long-term future on this thing, I think looks really rosy. I don't think it's in any risk of running out of cash. It's certainly not at risk of sales dropping from where they are, because it's medicines. People need their medicine. If anything, medical sales generally trend upwards. So what are we actually waiting for here? Treosulfan. Now, the company doesn't want to talk about Treo anymore because getting something past the FDA means a lot of up and downs and a lot of, we need more information here and we need you to fill this out there. And so they can't predict when that's going to happen, but it could happen at any point. And when it does, you're talking about a very big jump in revenue. So for mine, Medexus Pharmaceuticals is a buy, especially if people are giving you the stock for $1.80 instead of the $2.40 it was yesterday, especially if 180 is the new base, and it seems to be looking at the chart that that's what's happened. And especially if bad news is we had to make a bit of an adjustment on our debenture realized value. Like, okay, all right, accountants, do your thing. But this company's going nowhere but up, I think. Disclosure, they're a client of ours. Disclosure, I've bought stock. I've also sold stock. Quite frankly, when it's going like that, you might as well take your profits. You don't have to be on team everything you've bought. You can go out there and you can do a little trade, and I've traded this stock up and down because it's so volatile. If people want to give it to me for cheap, I'll buy it for cheap. If people want to take it from me for expensive, I'll let you take it from me. But on an overall long term, I'm a holder of this stock for the reason that I think the price right now at $1.84 is bonkers cheap, and I think that the next quarterlies that we see are likely to be bigger than these ones, and we're off to the races. So appreciate this is more than 3 minutes, but Medexus Pharmaceuticals, you'll do for me.